clicked on this video, you probably already know what the Moment Cinebloom Filter does. It's a diffusion filter, cuts back a little bit on that digital sharpness, it smooths out skin tones and causes points of light within the frame to bloom, giving you what is associated with that cinematic or film-like look that everybody wants nowadays. And in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the Moment Cinebloom Filter, specifically on the X100V. I'm also going to give this filter away because I don't think that I'm going to use it in my workflow. However, it's a really good filter and I think someone can get really good use out of this if it fits with their style of shooting. Now, in the interest of transparency, Moment did agree to send me this filter, but there were no preconditions that I have to say anything in particular about it or even anything nice about it. They just sent me it so that I could review it and make a video. And this was back in October and it was originally on back order. I didn't get it until the start of January, and that was around about the time I was moving house and it got really cold and dark and a lot of things were going on. I didn't go out at night time. So sorry if you're from Moment that it took me this long to make this video, and I'm sure you've got no sympathy for me being scared of the cold since y'all are from Canada. So this filter comes into its own at night time, around artificial light, or any time where there's a point of light in the frame that allows it to cause that flare kind of look. So one of the first things that I did with this was take it a walk around Colorado Springs at night time. It was also snowing pretty heavily, and I thought that maybe the inclement weather would add to that effect. Now, as you can see, it started snowing pretty heavily, and there's not a lot of people walking around downtown Colorado Springs on an evening like this. This first photo is without the filter on, and if you pay closest attention to the black areas around the sign and also that textured area on that covered spot. This is the photo with the filter, and the difference here is you can see the red light has sort of bloomed and filled in that dark area around the light. It's also muted those blacks a little bit, sort of give them that faded filmish type look, and it's taken that texture away from that sharp area from the overhang. There's another neon light shot here, and I start off by photographing it without the filter on. And it's quite sharp looking. Those little neon signs are not really blooming at all, but when you add the filter in, it's a very subtle effect, particularly in this photo for some reason. They bloom slightly and it's not extremely noticeable in this one. This spot is close to where I parked the car, and actually it's one of my favourite comparisons when you see how this one turned out. We've got this parking lot, the snow's all kind of melted and it's just nice and glassy, shiny surface. Without the filter, it looks fine. It does have almost a digital feel to it, very sharp. And with the filter on, it really, you can notice it, especially in that white light in the middle, very soft and hazy and much more cinematic looking. And while the filter works pretty well for these sort of subtly cinematic film-like scenes, I don't really get the chance to go out and shoot too much at night, and I think I even prefer to do it in the daytime in sunny weather. Therefore, I thought I would take this out and shoot street photography as I normally would on sunny days to see how it affects that front lit light and shadow kind of scene that I go for a lot. So if you follow my Instagram, you may have seen me taking a shot here a couple weeks before, and I thought I'd just stand here again and see if I got something halfway usable, or at least to show the effects of the filter. And here you can see a sort of softness in comparison to other shots that I've taken. I did not take the filter off and try it without, and I wish I had. However, I ended up adding contrast back in to get this photo looking more like what my style would be. But you do see a softening in those highlighted areas, but it's very subtle and almost unnoticeable. I think you wouldn't, like, if you didn't tell someone that there was a filter on here, they would never guess that there was. Coming up to this scene, there was a similar sort of situation. We've got this front lit scene that I like to look for, and it's I quite like the picture, to be honest. It may even look a little more filmic than my usual stuff. Maybe the contrast is reduced a little. Again, I added a little bit back in there because I prefer to see a stronger contrast, but I'm not getting any feeling of blooming lights or anything like that, or a particular softness from it that I find noticeable.
You're so cute. Holy crap.
Photographing this guy with his dog here, and you could be the judge for yourself. Maybe between the GoPro footage and the picture there, you can see a little bit more of that sharp digital sharpness is gone. I don't remember if I added contrast back in here or not. I actually think I didn't edit this one at all. And I'm just going to keep repeating myself here that I don't think it would have changed much if I did not have the filter on for this front lit type of scene. And this is where I feel that it didn't fit into my street photography sort of workflow, which is what I use the X100 for, quite as much as I expected it to. It does not create such a significant bloom. The loss in contrast was something I just tried to claw back in post anyways. It does smooth things out a little bit, which is nice, but overall I think I would rather keep the square hood on here, which doesn't fit over the top of the Cinebloom filter, unfortunately, because it's a little chunkier around here than the basic filter that I had on there before. Now, before I gave up on this filter, I wanted to give it a fair shot in a different type of scenario. So I got my wife to go out on the back porch and take some portraits in that sort of golden hour late afternoon light where the sun was just about to dip behind the mountains. And this is where I was pleasantly surprised as to how good this filter actually is. Yeah, I'll try and give you instructions. That's actually pretty good. So the footage you see here is from a little bit earlier in the afternoon. I took a few photos right after my wife finished work, and then we waited until closer to sunset to try again. And there was some effect at this time of day, but I feel like it was most significant later in the day. So here are the pictures from later in the day rather than at this point of the day. This first picture is without the Cinebloom filter. I do think that there was some light reflecting back from the house, which was lighting up her face a little bit better, but I think it still gives a fair idea of how it was. And this is straight out of camera, unedited. And if you compare it to the one with the Cinebloom filter, there is a significant difference here. There's a big drop in contrast and it's much more hazy, and if you ask me, it looks more cinematic and maybe even more film-like. And other than that little green flare, which could probably be removed in Photoshop quite easily, I think this photo looks way better than the first one. Now again, these pictures are straight out of the camera and unedited, but if we go back to the first one, we can apply a very basic classic negative edit to it to give you an idea of how it looks without the filter, with classic neg applied. And I think I added some contrast, some dehaze and some grain just to try and make it look a bit more like an actual film shot. And so I took that edit and transferred it directly over to the shot with the Cinebloom filter in it. So the edits are exactly the same, there's no change in anything else, and it looks way better on the one with the Cinebloom filter. So in this kind of scenario, personally, I think the Cinebloom filter makes the picture something a bit more special than without it. With this being the 10% filter, the effect had been pretty weak up until now, but in this scenario it really wowed me. Maybe because the sun is such a strong source of light that my wife being backlit created a strong haze. Even though it was the 10% filter, I think in this case maybe the 20% would have been too much. 10% was just perfect. So if you are interested in a Cinebloom filter, I will put links in the description, but the 49mm one for the X100 is currently still on back order again, so it might be a little while before it arrives. But as I said, I am gonna give this one away because it doesn't fit into my workflow for street photography, which is what I use my X100 for. However, I might get one of the bigger ones to put on my work camera for wedding portrait sessions, because Honestly, it looks pretty damn good, and I think it could work for portrait stuff. So anyways, I will put another link down in the description to enter the giveaway for the X100 filter. All you have to do is subscribe to this channel. You'll see the things in there. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Moment, follow Moment, all that sort of stuff. I will cover the shipping for it. It will be coming the cheapest possible way though, so don't expect it quickly. And I think that is it. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Go into the description, follow the links if you want to enter the competition. It is going to be for the X100 specifically, or for a 49mm filter thread. And I'll also throw in this little JJC adapter so that you don't have to buy one to fit it onto your X100. But anyways, that's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.